Thank you so much for clicking on this English lesson. I know there are a lot of great English teachers on YouTube, and you chose to watch me, so thank you so much. Watching the news in English is a great way to improve your English. Unfortunately, people in the news use really big words. They will use those pesky English phrasal verbs. So in this English lesson, we will watch a news clip together, and then I will come back and explain all of the difficult vocabulary they use. And in the news clip, they are going to talk about a woman named Oprah Winfrey. She interviewed Kamala Harris. As you may know, Kamala Harris is running for president here in the United States. And a big topic of this news story is going to be abortion. If you have seen some of the other English lessons I have done on the news here in the United States, you will see that I have mentioned abortion quite a few times. I will leave a link to another English lesson at the end of this one where we talk more about abortion. It's a big topic in this presidential race. On my YouTube channel, I put up a poll asking how many people know who Oprah Winfrey is. It turns out about 2/3 know who Oprah Winfrey is. There is 1/3 of the people who watch this channel who don't know who she is. So let's take a look at a paragraph that talks about Oprah Winfrey. If you already know who she is, this will at least give you practice with reading your English. Who is Oprah Winfrey? Oprah Winfrey is a famous American talk show host, actress, and businesswoman. She became well known for her talk show, The Oprah Winfrey Show, where she interviewed many important people. Oprah is also known for helping people and giving back to her community. Over the years, she has become a billionaire. Yeah, so in the United States, Oprah Winfrey is so famous, most people just know her by her first name, Oprah. If you remember one of our other presidents, Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey interviewed him too. In the news clip we watch later, they are going to mention that interview, but they do not mention the president. That president was Barack Obama. Unfortunately, they are going to mention a woman who died because of some new abortion laws in the southern part of the United States. We'll talk about the state of Georgia and also the state of North Carolina. But let's first talk about who Amber Thurman is. Amber Thurman was, unfortunately, she has passed away. Amber Thurman was a 28-year-old mother from Georgia who died in 2022 due to problems from an abortion. She was pregnant with twins and traveled to North Carolina to get an abortion because of tough laws in Georgia. Amber experienced problems after taking abortion pills, and her death was later determined to be preventable if she had received the necessary medical care sooner. And we will talk about some of those difficult vocabulary words a little later on in the English lesson, like preventable. Just in case you don't know where the states of Georgia and North Carolina are located, I have this map for you. She lived in Georgia but had to drive to North Carolina. It is quite a long drive, probably a few hours, and you can see there is a state in between called South Carolina. With all of that background knowledge now, let's take a look at that news clip.
Can Oprah Winfrey elevate another candidate to the White House? Well, tonight, the billionaire appeared with Kamala Harris to help make that happen. The two co-hosted a campaign event in Michigan called Unite for America, and at one point, things got emotional.
They used the verb elevate in the news clip. Let's talk about what that is. To lift or raise something to a higher position. Think of an elevator in English. It might bring you from the first floor to the second floor. Kamala Harris wants to elevate the importance of healthcare for women. I forgot to mention, for each of these difficult words or terms, I'll have a picture, I will have the official definition, and I will use it in a sentence. Co-host. What does that mean? Co-host. Well, a host is like in charge of an interview, maybe a television show. In the news clip, we see a host. They are the one talking about the news. Oprah Winfrey was once the host of her own talk show. Co-host? That means there are at least two people involved. A co-host is a person who shares hosting duties with another person. Oprah often worked with a co-host during her TV shows to discuss important topics. That is just an example sentence. She pretty much hosted that show on her own. At my school, some teachers will co-teach. That means there is one classroom with two teachers. Would you mind hitting that like button so other people can find this English lesson? And if you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe so you never miss another English lesson. Also, if you're looking for bonus English lessons, in the description, I have left a link so you can become a channel member. I release at least one bonus English lesson a week. There are over 200 bonus English lessons for members right now. Emotional. Do you know emotions in English? It's usually one of the first things people learn when they are studying English. Sadness, happiness, anger, feelings, emotions, they're pretty much the same thing. What is the official definition for emotional? Showing strong feelings. Emotional is an adjective. It can describe people. This was really sad. The interview with Amber's mother was very emotional as she talked about her daughter's preventable death. Preventable. We will talk about that.
Can Oprah Winfrey elevate another candidate to the White House? Well, tonight, the billionaire appeared with Kamala Harris to help make that happen. The two co-hosted a campaign event in Michigan called Unite for America. And at one point, things got emotional when the family of a woman whose death is linked to abortion restrictions in Georgia came face to face with Harris. Listen to this.
You're looking at a mother that is broken. Mm-hmm. The worst pain ever that a mother, that a parent could ever feel. Her father and myself and the family, you're looking at it.
Restrictions. It's a noun. The verb is restrict. What are restrictions? Rules or laws that limit what people can do. Amber faced serious restrictions when trying to get an abortion in Georgia. I have talked about this in many other English lessons, but just in case you don't know, Democrats or the party that Kamala Harris is for, they do believe in abortions. They believe in a woman's right to choose to have an abortion. Former President Trump's party, the Republicans, they want to limit or restrict abortions in the United States. Now that we've talked about what emotional is, let's talk about emotionally broken. Emotionally is an adverb. It describes verbs, other adjectives, adverbs. So emotionally here is the adverb, broken is the adjective. Emotionally broken means feeling deeply sad or hurt. Amber's family was emotionally broken after her death.
You're looking at a mother that is broken. The worst pain ever.
Amber's mom shared with me that the word over and over again in her mind is preventable. These abortion bans have been passed that criminalize healthcare providers. In a couple of states, prison for life, Oprah.
I have used the word preventable several times in this English lesson. Let's get the official definition. Something that could have been stopped from happening. Prevent is the verb, preventable is the adjective. Amber's death was preventable if she had received medical care earlier. Preventable deaths are always sad because it could have been stopped. Criminalize, not easy to say. If you know what a criminal is, this word won't be too bad. Criminal is a noun, criminalize is a verb, meaning to make something illegal. The new laws criminalize certain medical procedures, making it harder for doctors to help patients like Amber. I never give my opinion in these English lessons. I don't think it's right to do, but it just sounds crazy to me that doctors could have saved Amber's life, but there were laws preventing them from helping her. What do you think? Please let me know your opinion in the comments. In the news clip, they said healthcare providers. What are those? If you know doctors and nurses, you know healthcare providers. Right at the bottom, people like doctors and nurses who heal people, make them feel better. The healthcare providers were afraid to perform the procedure due to legal risks. Yeah, if the doctors helped Amber, they might go to jail. They might have to pay a fine.
Amber's mom shared with me that the word over and over again in her mind is preventable. These abortion bans have been passed that criminalize healthcare providers. In a couple of states, prison for life, Oprah. Prison for life in a couple of states for a doctor or nurse who provides health care.
That was one of the most emotional moments from this event. Oprah was crying. I mean, many people in the audience were crying. And it really took me back, I mean, obviously, to the Oprah Winfrey that everyone had in their living rooms for, decades.
The host used the term took me back. What does that mean? To make someone remember something from the past. She said seeing Oprah Winfrey on stage again took her back to her childhood. The same is true for me. My mother used to watch Oprah every afternoon after I got home from school. Kamala said the tragic story of Amber took her back to other cases she had heard. Just an example sentence, she never said that in the interview. Effective. What does that mean? It means something that works well. Take a look at that picture. That looks like an effective way to study English. It looks like a quiet area. It looks like it is well lit. There are plenty of lights around. Yeah, I think that would be an effective way to learn English. What about a sentence using effective? The medical care was not effective enough to save Amber's life. Okay, stripping has quite a few different meanings in English, but we are going to talk about stripping away, which means taking something away. The new laws are stripping women of their right to health care.
Prison for life in a couple of states for a doctor or nurse who provides health care.
That was one of the most emotional moments from this event. Oprah was crying. I mean, many people in the audience were crying. And it really took me back, I mean, obviously, to the Oprah Winfrey that everyone had in their living rooms for, decades. Will this be effective?
Well, I think the abortion issue is effective. Whether Oprah is the person that brings it to us, Kamala Harris is the person that brings it to us. The thing is, stripping women of their rights in this country was always inevitably going to lead to death.
I don't like the story we are hearing today about Amber, but I love this word, inevitable. Inevitable. What does that mean? Something that is certain to happen. Without proper care, Amber's death was inevitable. It was going to happen. She needed help. She didn't get that help. For our picture, I have what we call a robot in English, and I think that it is inevitable that robots will be taking more and more jobs from humans. You could also leave that in the comments. Do you think robots will inevitably take over our jobs?
Of that. The doctors knew exactly what to do when she arrived at the hospital, and they waited 20 hours to do the necessary DNC, and she died because they waited too long. It's not that they didn't know what to do. It's not that there was a crisis. It was a completely, as her mother said, preventable death.
I am not going to lie. This was a new term for me. I had never heard of a necessary DNC. What is it? A medical procedure to remove tissue from the uterus. I'm not an expert on the body parts of women, but uterus is something that women have and men do not. It involves babies. I don't know exactly what a uterus is. I know I don't have one, but I know that we have an example sentence using necessary DNC. A necessary DNC could have saved Amber's life if performed earlier.
And that happens when you take people's rights from them and you say all of this fits into this one tank, when it doesn't. Our healthcare is our bodies, it's our lives, it's our livelihood.
I'll say it again. Super, super sad. Fits in one tank. This is not a common saying that we have in English, but since the news reporter used it, I will talk about it. We also have a phrase in English called one size fits all. It has to do with clothing. Like the shirt I'm wearing is not one size fits all. It would be too big for people who are smaller than me, and people who are larger than me, this shirt would be too small. You might see some hats as one size fits all, but it should really be called one size fits most, because no article of clothing fits everyone. So let me use fits in one tank in a sentence, and I hope that helps you with the meaning. Laws like this are dangerous because they assume every situation fits in this one tank. In other words, maybe there should be more options for these healthcare providers. That is what the news reporter is saying. But I don't feel too bad for not knowing exactly what SE cup means. That's the name of the lady talking about fits in one tank, because I think other people on the panel are also confused. They have a little laugh about it.
Quite frankly, it's an economic issue. I don't know why we keep separating the economy from abortion. How many people are sitting at your kitchen table is a kitchen table issue. So abortion is center. Whether Oprah brings it to us or not, abortion will be central to this
These
election.
events are, part of a strategy that the Harris campaign is putting out there, which is to largely avoid doing interviews. They're not necessarily settings that where she shines. So they're doing this instead.
Quite frankly, native English speakers love to say this. Quite frankly, it's another way to say you are going to be honest with someone. The definition: to be honest and direct. Quite frankly, I think this English lesson is helping you improve your English. At least I hope so. Here is a sentence using quite frankly. Kamala said that, quite frankly, the abortion restrictions are harming women. Center. Center. This is another way to say the most important part. Women's healthcare should be at the center of the conversation. If you look at a map of the United States, New York City is not in the middle or the center of the country, but it is at the center when it comes to American business. It's a very important city for business. Lots of money changes hands in New York City. Putting it out there. Putting it out there. What does that mean? To share an opinion or fact openly to the public. Maybe it is something you might be a little nervous about sharing. You can say, hey, I'm just going to put it out there. I think pineapple goes on pizza. But let's use it in an example sentence. Kamala is putting it out there that abortion restrictions are dangerous. Yeah, not everybody in this country is going to agree with that. In the news report, they talked about this is where Kamala shines. You may have heard of the sun shining. It has something to do with light, but in this case, it's a little different. It means where someone does their best work. Kamala Harris shines when she talks about protecting women's rights.
This is a great event, and it's good for her. And listen, especially with Oprah and an Oprah audience, this is really, really important for Kamala Harris because Donald Trump has every base voter he's going to get. She does not have every base voter she can get, and she's needs about 10 points more black voters in places like Georgia to be where she needs to be to win these swing states.
Voters. Base voters. What are those? If you take a look at the picture, you can see there are Americans standing in line waiting to cast their vote. Probably some in that picture will be voting for Kamala Harris for president, and others will be voting for Donald Trump. But base voters is a group of people who strongly support a political party. So no matter what happens in the race, no matter what the candidates say, they are always going to vote either Democrat or Republican. They are the type of voters a candidate can count on. The opposite might be undecided voters. They don't know who they are going to vote for yet. Let's look at a sentence using base voters. The new laws appeal to the base voters who are against abortion. Appeal, that means like they really like. You could also have something called swing voters. Well, they mention swing states. It's almost the same. What is a swing state? It's a state where either political party could win an election. Sometimes that state votes Democrat, other times that state votes Republican. The topic of abortion is important in many swing states during elections. That is it for this English lesson, but if you are not done learning English, right down there is that English lesson I did a few months ago about abortion in the presidential election. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.